This is the second screencast about topic 11, hairs and fibers. A lot of different places where physical evidence includes hairs. One would not be bombings or fires because the hairs would be destroyed. You can't individualize a human hair to any single head or body, but it still has value. When it's properly collected, hair and accompanied by enough standard reference samples, hair can place an individual at a crime scene. These are the different cuticle scaling patterns, and they look different based on species. It's useful to determine where the hair came from species-wise. So the cuticle is the outer covering of the hair. The cortex is the main body of the hair, and in that area, the main part of the hair strand, that's where we have pigment granules that give the hair its color. Depending on the person, there's color of the pigment granules, the shape and the distribution of these pigment granules can individualize hair strands. And then we have the central core of the strand of hair, which is called the medulla. The medulla can be varied. The medullary index is the diameter of the medulla, so the width of the medulla relative to the width of the strand of hair. For humans, the medulla is thinner. It's like 1/3 of the diameter of the shaft, and in animals, it's greater. It's very wide. In humans, we see different kinds of medulla. You have continuous, where there's a straight line right through the middle. Interrupted almost looks like a center line, a dashed center line of a highway or a roadway. And then fragmented is when it's not as regularly interrupted. It's more piecemeal. Or hair strands might not even have a medulla at all. The presence of the medulla can vary among hairs of a person, like some strands of their hair might have a medulla, some might not, and then between individuals as well. And again, the medullae will have different shapes and sizes depending on the species. The root of the hair and cells around that root help hair grow. So hair grows from the root. There's some translucent tissue. If a hair is forcibly removed or pulled from the head, there's a little translucent amount of tissue. It almost looks white that can be found. It's called a follicular follicle. And that contains cells that can be analyzed for DNA fingerprinting purposes. As strands of hair are being compared, we use the comparison microscope, which is a side-by-side tool to compare hairs. When that's being compared, when hairs are being compared, matching color, length, and diameter are important. Now, color and length can be changed, so that's not overly reliable. Microscopic examination of hair will reveal features that can distinguish human hair from hair of animals that might be present at the crime scene. Scale structure, which is the cuticle, the medullary index, and shape are important in animal hair identification. You saw details on that in the other screencast. For looking at human hair, presence or absence of a medulla, the distribution, shape, and color intensity of the pigment granules in the cortex. Please pardon my dog. Most common thing with comparing strands of hair is to determine whether the hair recovered compares to the hair removed from the suspect, the standard reference sample. Microscopic hair examinations, unfortunately, are subjective, dependent on the skills, the experience, and the integrity of the analyst. Different questions that can or cannot be answered about hair. Can the racial origin of hair be determined? That answer is yes. In general, people of European descent have hair of fine or medium coarseness, and if you look at the strands and cross-section, they're round or oval. People of Asian descent have very coarse and wide strands of hair, and the medulla through the middle is continuous, a stripe all the way through the middle. People of African descent have coarse hairs that are flat if you look at them in cross section. The age and sex of an individual cannot be determined from a hair sample. A hair can be looked at and analyzed to determine if it was forcibly removed. Generally, we have that follicular tag, that piece of translucent tissue at the base of the strand of hair, if it was forcibly removed. Efforts are being made to individualize human hair, but we've seen the problems with that already. DNA, if there's a follicular tag available at the end, DNA can individualize a human hair. So I should probably have written there sometimes.